The ticker is OWL, the company is Blue Owl, and look at this chart down and to the right. The stock market is wondering, is this the next Bear Stearns or the next Lehman Brothers? Credit default swaps at OWL are acting like maybe that's true. The stock price is acting like maybe that's true. Here's 2 minutes on Blue Owl and what would have to happen for the equity to go to zero. Blue Owl is an investment manager. It doesn't just do private credit, but it does a lot of it. And here, take a look at what's happened in the private credit market since COVID. 2020, this market was a little under $1 trillion. That number now is about $2.6 trillion globally, and that does not include leverage. When you include leverage in the system, the number is probably more like $4 or $5 trillion. Let's take a look at how that compares to other debt areas. The biggest in the world, obviously, U.S. Treasuries, $35 trillion in debt out there. Mortgages are about $14 trillion. That's what blew up in 2008. That was our second biggest debt market. Corporate credit is $12 to $13 trillion, and the private credit market sits just above auto loan and credit cards at about $4 trillion when you include leverage. Blue Owl has reported a bunch of stress, a bunch of defaults in one of its funds. Now that fund isn't even 1% of total AUM, but it's got the market very scared that private credit is going to be a problem. Take a look at the stock price in green here, straight down, versus the credit default swaps, which is the percentage chance that this name is going to not be able to pay its debt, going higher. Let's take a look at the income statement as to what would actually have to happen for them to default on their debt and the equity to be a zero. If you've been watching our videos and want to invest alongside us,
click the link in the comments, select your brokerage,
search for ticker RVER wherever you buy stocks.
Thank you, and now back to our video.
Let's talk about Owl's ability to pay their bills. $3 billion in revenue. That comes from about $350 billion in AUM. And their profits were supposed to be really good this year, about $1.5 billion in EBITDA and net income. So let's talk about the debt burden. $3.8 billion in debt and $3.8 billion in preferred. Let's say the payments on that annually are about $400 million. Can it pay it at $3 billion in revenue? Yes, it can. The problem is what happens if all this starts to decay. The good news for OWL is given where the debt burden and preferred burden is and where AUM is, it should be able to pay its bills relatively easy, assuming AUM stays where it's at. However, if the market and investors start to pull AUM, eventually that debt burden gets large enough where the equity value evaporates and can evaporate very quickly the same way it did at Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate it. All those likes and subscribes really help us. And if there's anything you guys want to see, let us know.